Hello folks, I'm back with some more content for Divide et Impera. This is a game from Ludus Magnus Studios that just delivered. It's a snowpocalypse, it's area control, it's all the good stuff. And it's been a little bit difficult to find if you did not get the original Kickstarter. It's coming to GameFound with a reprint and another expansion. So they're also going to release their previous expansions, and what I wanted to do is kind of break down all the expansions that are currently created for this game. I don't have a lot to offer in terms of how they play. Like, I can explain what they do and kind of show you what they're like, but I haven't explored all of this content. It's just too new. This was literally this just arrived earlier this year. It's one of the first Kickstarters I got. Well, it's like right at the end of last year it arrived. I've got a full playthrough of this on my channel. Be sure to check that out. I've also created my own big box. These are all empty boxes. They're basically just to show you what these boxes look like and stuff. I cut them just for this specific video. I thought it might be useful, since they're doing a reprint, to kind of do a breakdown of what all these expansions include, because it would be a great way to kind of help make a decision about how much of this maybe you really want. There's different modes of play and characters and other things that you might be more or less interested in. So let's break down in this video what the 6 original expansions for DEI included. And I'm going to start with this. This is PVC tokens. Of course, this is an empty box, but there's 100 PVC tokens that are basically resources. There are 2 resources in this game. There are batteries and technology. Technology are little square or little circular cubes. That sounds funny. They're little cubes on circles, and the batteries are like little triangular shaped objects. So there's 100 of these PVC resources. I did see one complaint in the forums that that is not enough resources if you're playing in a 6-player game. So if you're playing the maxed out player count all the time, you might not get enough PVC resources. I haven't tried it to know that for sure. And there's always the paper resources. I was able to keep all of my paper versions of these resources, and I feel like if I ever ran out, I could just kind of supplement from there. Looking deeper in here at these other 2 small boxes, these are mercenaries. Now, these are 2 individual mercenaries. The white death box that we're going to get to in a minute also has 2 mercenaries, but they all do something different. The first one is Max and Rad. Now, Max and Rad is 2 dudes on a snowmobile, because that's cool, and with a big gun. And what they do is they steal resources. They'll go gather resources, but they also can shoot a person that's in the area that they end up in. So they drive around, collect resources, and shoot people. The other box set is Penny Boom. Penny Boom is basically sort of a terrorist, I guess. If you meet her requirements and your leader is able to hire her, then what she will do is blow up an enemy construct somewhere in the zone that she's in. So she'll blow up a bridge or an elevator, or maybe even one of their real refuges or something like that. So she's there to destroy enemy buildings and constructs. It's worth noting too that both of these characters not only came with the miniatures, but mine came with the meeple versions of their characters and some small instruction booklets that kind of further explain their cards, and their cards that you can add in, I guess, as a reference for the game. You can only play with 1 mercenary at a time. You'll never need more than 2 of these. I think the max that this goes, like at 6 players, you might have 2 mercenaries. I guess if you like the models, then that's a reason to buy these. Or if you have to have everything, those are the 2 reasons to get these, I guess. So far, the mercenaries haven't been a real integral part of the game. I've played with them a couple of times. And mostly, at least when I play, I like to let my opponent try to do all the requirements to kind of get to the mercenaries, and I focus on other things, and it seems to work out better for me. So I'm just putting that out there. I wanted to say too, if you're the type of person that really likes a written description of everything, I've done a written description with all the flavor text for each of the box sets, like it's just a few sentences. and also kind of a breakdown of everything that's inside and maybe a little bit about what they do, as much as I know to safely say for sure anyway. All of that is in my description down below. Be sure to check it out. I've also included time codes so you can jump around too if there's a box set you want to jog your memory about later. So the White Death box was the Kickstarter's extras box that came with the last campaign. This box set is very much like a lot of Kickstarter extras boxes, with a lot of very strange factions that play very unusually. You really want to have at least 2 or 3 probably normal factions running around and then supplement this in. This is great for that 4th player that's played a lot and maybe wants to try something else. Or maybe you're teaching the game to 3 people and you give them some normal stuff and you take one of the weird factions to try it out. But let's go ahead and break down all that's included. So this has 3 new factions. One of them are called the Wilds. The Wilds is this lady, and she's the only human in her whole faction. This lady and her dog. And they've got all these wolves. So she's got wolves instead of scrappers, and they run around. They're able to jump on top of buildings and climb and do stuff. They don't use the human bridges and stuff, unless that she's there with them, I guess, to kind of usher them across. Also, instead of a drone, she's got a polar bear. And I gotta say, this all sounds really cool. But the way it works with her is instead of having drone cards that you can purchase, she can purchase other people's drone cards and kind of swap them out for her polar bear cards. She starts off with one card that lets the polar bear dig and gather resources, which is kind of boring. But the other cards will have the polar bear attack and do all kinds of other stuff too. So the polar bear is really neat. And that's what she has instead of a drone. The next set of the psionics. Now the psionics are psychers, and it's basically 5 leaders. Now I believe when you start the game you have 2 of the leaders out. So you've got your whole crew is just 2 people to start with. Now every round you'll bring out another person, and they have their own special abilities, and they have their own goals too that they're trying to achieve. That's one of the things when you kind of draft these out. You pick your starting ones, and then you have all of their objectives, and then it kind of goes down with a little bit to a lesser degree with the other ones. But they all have different powers. Some of them can take control of drones, some of them can make people run away, and some of them can move or teleport. It's a really interesting set. I have like so much of this, I haven't had a chance to play it or field it yet, but it's a really interesting and unusual faction. Very minimalist. The last faction that comes in this box are the Fauns. Now a faun is like a satyr, I guess. Kind of the little deer legs and like a human-esque torso with some horns and pointy ears. They have their own set of objectives. They work in a little bit different way. They don't just take over the base, they change the base. So they kind of absorb all the different bases that you go to, making them only useful to them at that point. They're also the group that you use if you use the solo rules, which are in here, or I guess they're an automa. So what you can do is you can play them normally, or you can play them as they play with their rules, absorbing the bases and whatnot. But you can also play them with an automa deck. And what that will do is let you play them as an extra player if you want, or to play solo, which is them versus you. That's another one I've been wanting to try, mostly for content, because it's a kind of a neat way to play DEI whenever I want to play it. And that would be an easy thing to get on film. So I might make a video with a solo play. Be sure to comment down below if you'd like to see that. This box set comes with a few extra things to play the solo, and its own board and some more cards and other stuff like that, just to play the solo round with them. But they are the only crew that you can play solo with. So keep that in mind. If you want to do solo at all, this is an essential box set for you. Something else that's fun that it includes in here is the industrial market. The industrial market has a marketplace that replaces the black market. It includes a lot of different cards with new and different kinds of abilities, but it also includes 3 machines that are really neat. The first machine is called Hal, and it's sort of a big artillery piece that can kind of move around and snipe at your enemies. The next one is called Slug, which is sort of a snowplow Uber, I guess. It'll tunnel through the snow and kind of get you from one place to another. It can even pass through buildings and stuff like that, which is a little unusual for a vehicle. The last one's called Ripley, and it's a person inside of a big robotic cherry picker, very much an homage to Aliens, the movie. This also comes with 2 mercenaries. The first one, and they're just represented as like tiny little characters, 2 tiny little people. Jukas, who hijacks drones, and Alexandria, who collects all resources in a region. She's like a lady with about 6 arms or something. So she's grabbing them batteries and technology items. The other thing that this includes are weather cards, which are sort of random events that maybe make it harder to see, harder to move. It makes the game, it adds a little bit of a random issue to deal with each round with the game. So yeah, it's another way to kind of mix things up. All of this stuff is very modular. It's made, you can tell it was made to kind of add this piece in or that piece in. There are a lot of parts of this that I really like. The weirdo factions, as weird as they are, as broken as they might be, I like them. I like to think about playing them a lot. So if I didn't have this already, I would probably buy it again. I love the industrial market. I've gotten a chance to use that a little bit. The slug in particular was really fun. So I do think that there's some reasons to buy this, but I might put it a little bit lower on my list if you are not someone that wants to do solo. The solo component of this is kind of a big component. And it's the kind of thing that I'm surprised was included in a separate box, but I guess it makes sense to kind of keep costs in the appropriate places. All right, so next here we have Old London. So this expansion introduces another new faction, the Purebred. Now the Purebred are the technology hoarders that really came out on top of the Snowpocalypse. They've got all the technology, they've got a lot of resources, advanced facilities underground. In fact, all of the scrappers in DEI are basically kind of funneling to them all the resources that they collect, hoping for handouts and favors from the Citadel. Well, that is now a faction you can play. There's no drone for this faction or anything. They have a little bit more control over other people's drones and drone cards and stuff that come out. So they're an interesting faction. Again, I haven't played them yet. They look really neat. So in these last expansions, there are tiles that are included for some of the features and things. So you're going to be adding more tiles to the game. I actually got a shot of the whole board if I added every single tile that was on the board, which I don't think technically in the rules you can do, but you can do whatever you want, right? So if you're playing a 6-player game with every single tile, this is the layout. You can almost do a 4x4 foot table, almost, with all the tiles laid out. So this game includes Big Ben, and Big Ben is Vengeance mode. So with Vengeance mode, what you do is you whistle blow. So if you have the majority in the Big Ben area, you can rat out your other scrappers and cause them a card to be pulled and all kinds of problems to happen for them. So it's just another way to kind of a little take-thatiness to the game. You can easily add Vengeance mode in Big Ben and just by swapping out a few of the tiles. This expansion also includes a campaign, and that campaign includes some other tiles that you can either play within the campaign, of course, or you can use them in your regular game. So we've got some Thames River tiles and a London Bridge tile with a few extra rules for how it works crossing the river and stuff. We got a nice frozen river going through London, which is pretty cool. This also includes a rule set for Challenge and Alliance, where you can kind of ally together for certain periods of time. It's a little bit different than sort of a co-op mode because I think you can break those ties. You can make those ties and break those ties and get some mutual benefit at some point in between. I think that's included because somewhere in the campaign, I think some of the missions that you do in the campaign kind of add that mode to it, but it's kind of in there as kind of an alternate way to play. And that is all for Old London. Let's take a look at the Citadel. All right, so this expansion is the Citadel. And a funny story about this, I did not buy this expansion. So just to show that I had willpower, I picked one of the expansions just not to get it all. And then after I got the game, I discovered that I loved it. I loved it in a way that that made me want to have it all. And so I went and tracked this down on eBay. I didn't pay a lot more for it, but it was the only one on eBay at the time when I bought this. So I sweated that a little bit. So this expansion has 5 alternate leaders. 4 of them replace the core set ones, or not necessarily replace, but they're alternative leaders to those core set colors. And the fifth one is included for some of the gameplay modes that are in here, but also can be swapped out for the pure blood. This also includes a shooty drone called the Jagger that can be subbed out. It can be used as a drone for the pure bloods. Now, if you remember when I mentioned them before, they don't use drones, or they don't typically deploy with one. This adds a drone that you can deploy with them. And it's a pretty shooty one. It can shoot from kind of far away, so it's a tough one. But he is also included in some gameplay modes that I'm about to tell you about. So this expansion also includes the Citadel mode, which is 4 tiles in the Citadel, and those 4 tiles kind of make a wall around the Citadel that you're trying to get control of. If you've got control of this wall, then the pure blood leader that I mentioned earlier, Acab, I think is his name. You can ask for his help to do things to your enemies. So it's another way to kind of like do bad things to your other players. Also, the whole time you're doing this, a card is flipped for that Jagger drone, and it's going to kind of wander around and shoot at people. So something else you can do though is you can send your scrapper in. They can get some resources, I guess, scavenging around the building. And that gets you some points, and they just kind of go back to your base. So it seems like a pretty neat little mode. Again, haven't tried it yet, but I'm looking forward to it. And that's about it. You can see why I maybe passed on this before. It was really kind of my desire to have everything. This is probably one of the weaker expansions. I don't know how fun that game mode is, though. If that game mode sounds like the kind of thing you like the King of the Hill style thing, if you like that kind of stuff a lot, might be essential. Or maybe you just want the building. Hell, half of the reason I wanted this was the little Citadel building. I'm weird like that. Okay, so this one's really interesting. This one adds 2 more players. So this extends DEI to 5 and 6 players. It includes extra player boards. It includes extra resources. It includes extra bases. And it includes extra tiles that kind of get you there. All the extra tiles that it does will add the appropriate resources and bases and stuff, so you'll have enough for a 6-player game or a 5-player. It also comes with 2 factions that aren't quite as wild as like the Pure Bloods or the Fauns or the Silent. These 2 are fairly normal in comparison to them, although they are unique. So the first of those factions are the Camdens. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. They are merchants. They had this big drone that's basically a big, it looks like a big garage sale kind of wandering around. They have their own set of marketplace cards, and they can do a little bit more market manipulation. They're very shopping oriented. They even have little shopping signs and stuff that their scrappers carry. Really interesting. The other clan that's in here are the Rads. And the Rads have this drone that is very radioactive, and as it moves into an area, people kind of run away to get away from the radiation. They're all bright yellow, and lots of fun at parties. The other thing that's included in here is the information market, which is a market that will switch out either the red, blue, or green markets from the other ones. So you just use yellow bases instead of one of those other colors, and has a little bit different set of cards with different abilities and things to acquire. What we have here is the assortment of tiles for DEI. The base game is going to come with this stack of tiles, and as you see it says 2 players, so this is sort of the minimum tiles that you're going to use in a game. So if you're just playing a game of DEI with 2 people or solo, this is your stack. And then as you add players, you just add tiles, and what these will do is add more refuges and other things. The old London expansion tiles are designated by this little number on the back. They have things like the place for Big Ben to sit, and that just kind of plops down in there. And there's a sort of a whole scenario built around this. And the other one is the London Bridge, and it's got the little London Bridge pieces that fit on here as well. And the rest of this is just kind of river segments, more river segments to kind of add on to the Thames River. Very neat. So if you're going to play a game with this and you want to keep it with all the appropriate amount of refuges and drone locations for a 2-player game, you just swap out these for these. So these are the tiles for the Citadel expansion. You can see they're kind of, they've got a little C there, and they've got this symbol on them. And the reason is you take these tiles and you put them together like so. And they make a little area to put the Citadel. Voila! So you're trying to have majority on these walls and stuff around the Citadel, and if you do, you kind of tap in there and grab some resources. And you'll be fighting over that as this mech walks around the board, just kind of randomly blasting people. The Cache and Rads expansion adds just a few more boards, and what these do is they're going to go ahead and have the extra resources that can take this up to another player game. So you got another drone location and another refuge. And I imagine we'll see the exact same thing. Or, well, we got more bases here on this one for the 6-player and another drone port. So these make it so you have the appropriate amount of resources for the 5 and 6-player games. And that is it. DEI all expanded out. There'll be one more expansion. I don't know much about it. It looks like it adds at least one more faction, and hopefully it's really interesting. I can't wait to see it. I'll definitely be adding on to my collection. I've got a little bit more room in my giant box. If you'd like to see a full playthrough of this I did on basically Christmas Eve, there's a video right here. If you'd like to see the big box I made for this, there's a video right here. Of course, subscribe. I'd love to see you again. And don't forget to click like. It helps a whole lot. Enjoy your games, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.